My name is Jen Hensick, and I'm the District Ranger on the Missoula Ranger District of the Lolo National Forest. Today we're at the Rattlesnake National Recreation Area, and we're here because there's a project that we've been working on, and the name of the project is the Marshall Woods Restoration Project. In January of 2016, I signed a decision that authorized some fuel reduction work and some recreation opportunities here in the Marshall Woods project area, which is inside the National Recreation Area predominantly. One of the really important things about the Marshall Woods project is that it really is a connection to the cohesive strategy. And the cohesive strategy is made up of three elements: community wildfire response, creating resilient landscapes, working with fire-adapted communities. In the Rattlesnake National Recreation Area, we're surrounded by private residences and private lands. So we have opportunities to work on both sides of the fence, so to speak. We're working on National Forest System lands and working on private lands to make treatments more effective and private lands more defensible. And we've been really fortunate here in the Missoula area to work with our Department of Natural Resources and Conservation. Our representative is Angela Wells, and she's been instrumental in having some conversations with our neighbors here adjacent to our lands in the Rattlesnake.
We are at a private property up the Rattlesnake, which is an outlying area of Missoula, Montana. We are here because this landowner has done some hazardous fuel reduction and fire-adapted ecosystem restoration on the property. And this is actually a type of project that we are repeating on several other properties in the area adjacent to the Forest Service Marshall Woods project. This does not typify the recent wildland-urban interface development. You know, these are a lot of historical residences, historical private properties. This canyon is at risk from wildfire coming from the west. We have some heavily vegetated drainages to the west, and our prevailing winds also come from the west. And then we're also in a pretty steep place, access roads with one way in, one way out. So from a risk standpoint or a resource benefit standpoint, there's a lot of work that could be done here that will benefit a lot of people, all of the users of the National Recreation Area and also homeowners in the area. But I would also like to give credit to the people who live here. There's a high level of consciousness, generally speaking, and awareness about the need for restoration. We live in one of those forests that from a practical or scientific standpoint is easy to restore because we know what we need to do here. And generally, we've just found the people in the immediate community to be very supportive and excited to do work on their own land.
We've been really lucky that as we've implemented this project, a lot of our neighbors have gained a lot of interest in doing work on their private lands. Steve Siebert and Jill Belsky have been doing work on their property for years, since the early 2000s, and have really paved the way for a lot of the great community discussions and allowed us to connect and really work together to make more effective fuels treatments that works well on both private lands as well as on forested landscapes. Steve and Jill happen to be forestry professors at the University of Montana, and because of that, they've had some really deep and valuable conversations with their neighbors, and it buys a lot of instant credibility. So we're lucky here in this particular area and across the Missoula Valley, really, to have that influence of the university.
My name is Steve Siebert, and we are in the Upper Rattlesnake, about 4 miles up Rattlesnake Drive near the trailhead for Woods Gulch and for the Rattlesnake Trailhead, and we own about 6 acres. When we moved here in 2000, what you see directly behind me was a large stand of juniper next to a wood deck, and the hillside had probably about twice as many large trees and a dense understory of young ponderosa pine and Doug fir, 10 to 15 feet tall. When we first moved here, we were immediately concerned about the fire danger. The first thing we did was remove the juniper, and then over a period of time, gradually 15 years worth of effort, removing the understory trees and some of the larger trees. With some assistance from DNRC, Forest Service money, we were able to get some assistance through a local contractor to do some thinning a little bit further away. One of the things that was a real pleasure in terms of our management of the hillside was initially to have some of the neighbors be a little bit surprised at how much wood we were taking off, but then being pleasantly surprised by the growth of shrubs and in particular the flowers. The balsam root and lupin have really responded there, but suppressed and hadn't quite disappeared, so they've really just rebounded wonderfully, and that motivated a couple of our neighbors to embark on the same effort.
One of the purpose and needs of this project was really to inform the public and have some education opportunities. And the Marshall Woods Project is an excellent place to do that because it's so close to town. Given that that was such an important part of the project, we decided to hire a restoration education specialist, and that individual is Dave Atkins.
I'm out here on a mountain bike, riding around, meeting with people that are hiking and biking themselves and explaining and asking them what they think and if they have questions. And then we have signboards at all of the trailheads with maps and explanation of what's going on, so that people aren't surprised when they come in and they can see that the thinning's going on or has been going on, that there are weed treatments and there's some erosion issues that are being resolved. It's been really fun to interact with folks, and one of the things that they comment on often is that it opens it up and they can see further. They can see the nice big pines that are growing here that were all covered up by the small trees that were here before. There is some disruption with the noise of the crews running saws, but people really understand the wildfire risk and hazard and appreciate that there's work going on to reduce that hazard. The Ranger District has agreements with a lot of the user groups, so the mountain bikers and people that run in here, and so we've been sending out emails to their lists, doing press releases with both print and online video media outlets. And then I've been helping set up some tours with the media to come in and see this and be able to explain it. And then we've also had people that are neighbors that live here or in the community were invited, and we had some city council representatives and from the county government, the rural fire department, and we've got some additional meetings and tours planned with the Missoula County Air Quality Advisory Council. So we're trying to reach those interested folks that would like to know more about what's being done.
This project area is about 13,000 acres. About 3,500 acres are going to receive some level of treatment. So right now, because we're in phase one essentially, and year one, we have piles that we have across a number of units here on the project area.
Burning will be done on these piles that have been made in the fall or spring when it's still wet around and reduces the risk of them spreading. And so that will get rid of what's been piled up. And then after that's done, the crews with the Forest Service will run what we call an underburn that will spread all across the forest floor and burn up more fine fuels. And in the process, it also rejuvenates shrubs and browse for deer and elk and birds to use. And so that's part of restoring the understory plant community as well as reducing fire hazard. There is no timber harvest going on within the National Recreation Area. Over in Marshall Canyon, outside of the National Recreation Area, there is some harvest that will be occurring.
We have 60,000 people that visit this trailhead annually, estimated. So we have a lot of impacts, and one of those is weed and invasive plants and seeds. And so we've taken a really proactive step in that realm. We have a multiple phased approach where we're doing spraying as well as biological controls and hand pulling. We're doing all of that across many of the units that we're working in to try to abate that weed spread.
I think this project has gotten off to a really good start. It's going well. We hope it continues to go well, and a lot of care and effort is going into the implementation of this.
I'm really pleased that the DNRC and the Forest Service have been able to provide the funding. I know some of our neighbors have wanted to do things, but they're retired and on fixed income, so they really couldn't afford even the previous cost share relationship. We've had really a number of serious fire scares over the years, and that's really woken people up to the need to address the issue right around their homes. But I think also people have really appreciated, through a bit of active management, how you can improve the aesthetic appearance and the diversity of your backyard forest and make it a lot more attractive for a diversity of plants and animals.